Hi, everybody. I actually never introduced myself while I was talking on any of these prior videos. So I am Chiara Marie Adorno, and I just moved to France. It'll be coming up on a year this October, so in a couple of months. And as an American expat, I'm trying to figure out how I can help other people, given what I see as the quick collapse of the US, and who knows if it can be turned around. That's going to depend upon a lot of people with a lot of willpower. So we're all suffering through a trauma, right? And even though I'm here, I'm also suffering through it because, quite frankly, it's like watching the Titanic, frankly, and I'm on a lifeboat and I'm looking back and I see the thing is like sinking. So it is distress for me as well, because that was home. And even if I wanted to be an expat and everything was fine in the US, there is a transition that you have to go through. But to see something just being destroyed, like, so that there's something that you're not returning to because it's no longer what it was, and it's only going to get worse and worse. It feels like a trauma maybe for the world. I mean, I know everybody that I run into here in France can't believe what we've done. But I have found people to be so much more educated here, like just everyday people. So we failed with our educational system in the US, and I knew that was happening, but I just didn't know there was such a huge part of the population that they became motivated voters under Trump. They probably didn't vote all that much, but he was able to, get out the vote of those people. So they became galvanized voters because he was the I alone can fix it guy, and that spoke to them. So, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with them, but they became like the real galvanizers of the MAGA movement. And now that they will be disillusioned, who knows? Maybe they'll just stop voting again. But in any case, it's a huge problem to have an ignorant population. Money in politics is also a huge problem because it is being used to manipulate people, keep people ignorant, hence, Fox, which is not Fox News, it's just Fox. They're crazy like a fox. The name is very appropriate. Who have a whole propaganda machine like RT television media in Russia. It's the same, There's no truth being told there. Yet it has quite a big audience, and they won the election. So I just also wanted to say, I will put this in the description of the show notes down below on this video, that I did submit, and it was just published yesterday, an article in CNN Travel, which was really great. I mean, I'm very happy. It was a nice little piece that they wrote about me moving here. They did make a focal point of me moving with my cats. I moved with 2 cats, and one cat is Willy, Willy for short, a girl, and Puccini, also a girl. They had to fly over. We flew on United. They had their seats, I had mine. I think the staff really enjoyed having pets on board, so they gave us our little 3-seat row, and even though it was a full plane, everybody's like, how come you get, and one guy literally said, how come you have like a 3rd seat? Like, you know, I had to buy 2 seats, but they gave me a 3rd. So the little troopers flew to France. Willy had asthma, and I used an inhaler on her beginning, a couple months here. We had all this testing done, and here I could afford stuff like this, MRI and ultrasound and everything. Everything is a fraction when it comes to pets and medical care, period, versus what's in the U.S. And just out of pocket, I was able to pay to get all her, to just check out, see what's going on with her vitals and her actual organs and everything, and not make sure it was her heart, it was this kind of thing. So she was on an inhaler, but I noticed she just was weakening, because she would heave or wheeze, and that was a few times a day. And if you know, like when you're coughing, if you have I'm sure you've had a cough that goes on for like months, like in your life, and you just feel like this weakening of like your chest, like you're just weaker. So she was never going to get stronger. And she always would sleep with me by my head on a pillow. And then a few weeks before she died, she wasn't even coming up on the bed. She was laying on the floor. I think the floor, just that hard surface, allowed for her body not to, bend, and she could expand her lungs. I mean, I think it was more comfortable for her to be on a very flat surface at night sleeping. I had, a towel down and stuff for her, blanket. But when I moved to my Airbnb in Marseille, it was very hectic, and my cats are not easily traveling companions. They're just not used to it. I didn't raise them to be, how you see people with their travel kitties or dogs and stuff. So they just kind of have to suffer with me to get in the car and get in their carriers and stuff. So it's always not fun for them. But poor thing was in distress in her carrier, and I didn't recognize it. I had given the carrier to the host of the Airbnb because she asked if she could carry something. And we were chatting, and poor Willy was wheezing in the carrier. I left them in the carrier because it was a new place, and I wanted to wait till my hosts were gone so that she wasn't encountering strangers. But then I pulled her out of the carrier, and she was in distress. She really was in her last moments. So I gave her chest compressions. I still feel terrible. I feel terrible. And, your animals rely on you. Anyway, and it's going to rain. Let's see if I can get through this. So the CNN article, I told them a bunch of different stories, but they liked the pet angle the best, evidently. And it became a story about my cats. So it's an August 28 article, 2025, so it's yesterday, in the CNN travel section. And I think I need to turn around because I'm getting rained on. And I'm hearing thunder. And it was on the front page of CNN. So, Willy, wherever you are, you're famous now. You were on the front page of the news. People here in France saw it and checked in with me. Of course I did, notify a lot of people about it, and posted it on my social media and stuff. And it's just funny because if I didn't talk about my cats, I wouldn't have Willy memorialized in this CNN article, and their pictures are in the article really big, her separate pictures of her and Puccini both, and me talking about what I'm doing here in France. And I'll also put a link to my memorial. The French are very dedicated to their pets, and when I got a hold of, there was luckily within walking distance where I landed in Marseille, there was a wonderful vet, this older woman who I didn't know. She closed shop very soon after I worked with her because she retired. But I had to walk there because I don't speak French enough to talk on the phone anywhere. So I walked to her place. She said, sure, bring the cat down. So, she had to do a little diagnosis. They're very serious here. It's not just like, oh, yeah, we'll cremate it. She looked at her thoroughly to make sure that I was truthful. It wasn't like some trauma that happened to her. But she also was like a therapist. I swear to God, she was the most loving person, just a person. And she listened to me because, my pet had died. I was like, and unexpectedly. She was only 13. And she just assured me, and, she said it was okay. I said, I hope she didn't suffer too much. And she really just comforted me. And then she was able to take care of the cremation part of it and everything. And then the cremation people, they sent me a link. They're like, would you like to do a memorial? And there's a website for free. All of this is, I think I paid $100 for the cremation. The vet did not even charge me for her services. And we probably talked for an hour. No charge. No charge. And so I have a little memorial. I'll also put this in the link description. I'll put a link as well. Anyway, it's raining, and I'll see you again. Bye.